All right, we are in our series, Sticky Faith. So if you want to grab your Bibles, we're going to be in Genesis 1 to start. And today, our bottom line, our big idea is if you want to foster sticky faith in your kids, you have to widen the circle. And we're going to talk about what that means. In the past few weeks, we've been in this series, and it's been our goal to partner with parents while they raise their kids to have a deep, meaningful faith. In past weeks, we've discussed things such as, if it's not in you, it'll never be in your kids, as Caleb talked about what it means to be a sticky example to your kids. We talked about fighting for the heart, not just trying to fix behavior, but trying to seek out what is in your heart, to your kid's heart, that is making them act that way. We've talked about the benefit of creating a rhythm. I talked about 4 crucial times in your kid's day that you can leverage: drive time, bedtime, the morning time, and dinner time, right? We talked about sitting down and eating dinner with your family and how important that is, creating a rhythm. And last week we saw that inspiring your kids to having a purpose in their life, serving with your kids. We talked about parents and grandparents serving with their kids on the upward soccer field, right? Serving week in and week out with a purpose in their faith. We're doing this because we realize that every day, every month, every week, it's just a phase. And as we know, phases pass. That's actually advice that Sean and I get all the time when we're, man, our kids are really doing this. And someone says, it's going to pass. It's just a phase. And then people say, you're going to miss it. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to miss the fits, right? I think there's no way I'm going to miss that. And they say, hey, it's just a phase. Just this month, we've seen 2 crucial examples of the phase, right? We saw graduation Sunday, kids who were done. And then we saw baby dedication. That had so much left to go. And when we talk about all the phases in between. And so what I want to do to start this morning is I want to take a look at these jars. And these jars have marbles in them. And each marble represents a week in a kid's life. From birth to graduation, you start with 936 marbles. A pretty full jar here. 936, but it's just a phase. Then I picked a couple other phases. Here's first grade. Anyone have any first graders in the room? 676 marbles in first grade. It starts dropping down a little bit. The first grade phase is noted by the phase when unfiltered words make you laugh, right? Homework makes you cry. Somehow first grade math is harder than our high school math, it seems like, right? And then the life becomes a stage when your kid shouts, "Look at me." That's a first grader for you. We move to 5th grade, right? Jump up. 468. The marbles are getting a little lower in the jar. 468 marbles. The phase when friends are best friends, games are for competition, and your confident kid will insist, "I've got this." If a 5th grader's never said to you, "I've got this," then you don't really know what confidence is, right? They've got it. 8th grade, maybe my favorite phase in the phases here. 8th grade, 312 marbles. There's nothing like an 8th grader. Really, just 8th graders are their own species, I think. So, and if you want to see this for your own eyes, come to help it serve at 212, and you'll see the species that is the 8th grader. It says the phase when nothing you do is cool. Everything is fun in a crowd. That's why they travel in packs. If you've seen the school, they just travel in large packs. And one smart kid will keep reminding you, "Yeah, I know." That's when you're like restraining yourself, it's tough. 10th grade is pretty scary, right? Look at the marbles in 10th grade. You know what happens in 10th grade? What happens in 10th grade? They get that little piece of plastic that gives them the rules of the road. Here we go. They start driving. The phase when everyone else can do it, no one else has to, and your resolute teen will push you to answer, "Why not?" It's funny that the 10th grade phase and like the preschool phase have the same why questions. And then senior year. 52 marbles left. We watched seniors in front of the crowd just a few weeks ago, and parents either really happy or maybe really sad. And the 12th grade phase is known as this: the phase when your emerging adult pulls away. You see, emerging adult, that's scary. Gets closer, does things for the last time, and you will both start asking, "What's next?" The parents are like, "What's next with their bedroom? What's next? All the free time they're going to get." Right? Sean and I, my wife and I, just had a phase that we just shifted with our oldest. Asher turned 4 years old this week. 780 marbles left. And when it's compared to the 936, it just kind of makes me get hot, like sweats, night sweats, and thinking and dreaming about, man, he's going to be an 8th grade boy, and what in the world am I going to do with that? He's going to start driving. I see the farmer's license here in Kansas. I didn't see this when I was growing up, but 14-year-old boys getting licensed terrifies me. Yeah. And the great thing is I saw it happen this year, is they all get their own car and their own license, and they drive around this little town in like a procession just together. They all could fit in one car, but it's not their gas, so who cares, right? And they're just driving around together. It's just a phase. And parents, you know, if your kids just graduated, or maybe they're in college, that 936 weeks really isn't that much, right? 936 weeks really isn't that much. It's just a phase. Parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, teachers, volunteers, older siblings, we have to absolutely understand that it's just a phase. And with this in mind this morning, I want to look at what widening the circle means. What does widening the circle means? And I want to kind of say it's all about relationships. It's all about relationships. If you look at Genesis 1, verse 26, this is what it says. Let us make man in our image. Now, I know some of you are thinking, yeah, I do kind of look like a god. Look at me, right? Specifically some of the high school boys, yeah, I do look that good. You know, I am the image of God himself. But I don't think this is necessarily a physical image. I think this is an image of community, right? That we were created for community with God and with each other. And for our purposes this morning, I want to look at that as it is for the family and as it is for the church. And you might have heard us talking around here and seen some orange things. And we keep talking about thinking orange. And thinking orange is this idea that the church and the family are more powerful when they're together instead of separated. You might see there, the church is yellow. The church is yellow and the family is red. And when you put them together, red and yellow make art teachers orange, right? That makes sense. And so we want to think orange. And what that means is we realize that without families, the church is not going to survive. And without the church, the family is going to hurt really bad. They can't be their own little island. We have to think orange. So this morning, as we consider widening the circle, I want to take a look at two key relationships that we can focus on for your kids. The first is friends. Parents, you need to understand that who your child is friends with can make or break them. The decisions they are making about who they're surrounding themselves with is absolutely crucial. It's been said like this: choosing your friends is like choosing your future. Choosing your friends is like choosing your future. If you're following along with notes, you can have a note paper that we had in the back, or if you open your church app, there's notes right there on the far right-hand corner there. You can take notes and follow along with what we're doing here. But friends, who you choose to be your friends is absolutely crucial. In 1 Corinthians 15:33, it says this: do not be deceived. Bad company corrupts good morals. Anyone's grandma ever say that? Bad company corrupts good morals. Paul is actually writing to the church at Corinth here, and for a little context, he's basically admonishing them he's getting on to them because they're stopping believing in basic ideas of faith. The belief in God is kind of stretching and moving away, and he says it's because you're hanging out with the wrong people. The belief that he's talking about is the resurrection, which we know is pretty crucial to the Christian faith, and their friends are beginning to make them doubt that. Bad company corrupts good morals. Paul gives us a truth that crosses thousands of years and any culture, because in any culture, in any year, bad company always corrupts good morals. Parents, all the work you have done, all the talking we've done up here about fighting for the heart, about creating a rhythm, about giving purpose to your kid, about being the example. Let me tell you this, one bad friend can ruin that for your kid. One bad friend. You know this because you've had bad friends. They can be damaged with the wrong interactions with the wrong friends, and it's a lot of work to clean up. So what does this mean for you parents? What does this mean for us? How do we seemingly control something and be effective in an area that we really don't have any control? How do we control who they sit at lunch with and who they talk to? How do we have some kind of influence there? And I've got a couple ways. The first way is this: parent from a position of power. Parents, sometimes we need to be reminded we're the adults. It's kind of easy when they're this tall, but when they're this tall, it's not as easy. We're the adults in their relationship. We don't have to be their friends, right? We don't have to be their buddy. We don't have to give them, we're the adults. You get to know who they're spending time with. Ask good questions. Every time I ask a high schooler, hey, how'd school go today? You know what they say? It was good. Oh, that's good. You're learning. All of our taxes are paying for your schooling. I'm glad it was good. It was good. But you got to ask better questions, right? Here's a great question to ask at dinner. Who'd you eat lunch with today? What made you mad today? What did your coach say to you today? Ask questions that don't have one-word answers. Ask good questions. You are in the power of that relationship. Something my parents used to drive me crazy. Anytime I wanted to spend any kind of time with friends outside of my house, they called their parents. I hated it because my schemes never worked when they called their parents, because parents are like, oh yeah, I'm going to tell you exactly what we're doing. I want to be on your team. Parents, you need to team up together and call each other. My mom actually did this one time. We had these really close family friends that in early elementary school, she was a teacher, so we'd go to their house, during the summers. And I remember getting in trouble and getting in a fight, and the mom said, not my mom, the other mom said, hey, my mom gave me permission, your mom gave me permission to spank you, so if I need to, I'm going to. What? I thought I was outside of that little circle here. I'm gonna swat here at my friend's house? Not necessarily the greatest idea, but it worked for me. It put some fear in me. She widened her circle a little bit. And here's a great thing. If you're not sure who your kids are hanging out with, or if you want them to hang out with, here's a great thing. Home field advantage is a really cool thing. Invite them to your house. You have absolute control over your house. Dads are like, oh yeah, I do. Absolute control. I tell our sponsors at 212 all the time, our youth ministry, I have no clue why some of the kids come to youth group. I really don't. Because I know that some of the lives they're living outside of a youth group, and I'm wondering, why are you here? Maybe it's because there's nothing else to do on Mount City on Wednesday night. Maybe there's a girl they're chasing or a boy they think is cute. I don't know. And honestly, I don't care. Because I know our intentions when they walk in the room. I know that what they're going to hear is the gospel every Wednesday. I know that they're going to be surrounded by caring adults who love them and are not going to put up with their crap. We control the home field advantage. And you have the same opportunity in your house. My mom did this all the time. Mom, I want to go to a party. No, but you can throw a party here. Oh, it's not going to be fun here, Mom, right? Control the situation. You know what time they're going to bed. You know how good the locks are in your house. Right, my mom had a security system, my mom and dad, that it let us know when people left. When alarms went off when they left, not when they came in, because they're so worried about us. My older brother was a little more dangerous than I was. I swear they trained the dogs to bark every time he left his room. It was great. They were worried, and rightfully so. They were worried for right reasons. You are in control of your house. Have the home field advantage. Chiefs fans, you know exactly what this means. No matter what Seattle says, you are the loudest stadium in the NFL, right? Another thing you can do is choose the environments they go to. I don't know if you know this about me. I'm a really big fan of youth group. I just think it's a really great place, right? And I think when you send your kids to youth group, good things are going to happen. I think if you send your kids to youth group, there's going to be adults there that are going to have their best interest in mind, and we're going to partner with you. Choose a good environment to send your kids. If you're sending your kids to hang out at the school parking lot at 10 p.m., that's not a great environment. Let's be honest. Choose the environment. And there's one little word that is very powerful. But I want a guy who's a lot funnier than me to show us.
They call me at home. My kids, my nickname, they call me Dr. No. Dr. No. You know why? Because I give them a lot of no. A lot of no. Go to mom for yes. You come to me, you're going to get no, probably. It is. I call it the gift of no. A lot of kids get too much yes. We got to give them some more no. It'll bless them. No? Try it, parents. Daddy, can I have that? No. Can I have the keys to the car? Let's see here. No. Can I go over there? Nope. Can I spend the night over there? This old man, he said no. Get creative. Eeny, meeny, miny, no. Now you're just somebody that I used to. No. There are so many fun ways to say no. No.
Bonus points for any parent who does the Jack in the Box. I'm serious. If you send me a video of the Jack in the Box, we're going to take you out. We're going to have dinner. It's going to be awesome. I want to see that video. The power of no, right? Our kids hear a lot of yes. And I even talk about the kids need to hear yes sometimes, but that little word, no, can bless your kids more than you realize. Just say no. You're in absolute control. You know what? You don't have to feel guilty. It's your gas. It's your car. It's your electricity charging their phones. It's your roof. You bought the clothes. Say no. You have absolute control over that. I'm saying that because my parents said no a lot, and I hated them for it. But now, I don't have some of the stories that some of my friends have. And I'm okay with that. Say no. Parent from a position of power. The second thing is this. Be a student of your child's culture. Be a student of your child's culture. Listen to what you can listen to. Read what they're reading. Before they watch something, movies they want to go see it with them. Be a student of your child's culture. Let me tell you this, parents. No matter how crazy you were in high school is nothing like it was when you were there. Grade school, middle school, any of that. It's not the same. There's no way it's the same. You need to be a student of your kids' culture. Dads, this doesn't mean you need to wear skinny jeans, okay? No. The power of no skinny jeans, okay? But you can understand what they're doing. Be informed. You're going to be a much better parent if you understand what they're fighting every day. And let me tell you this. It's not the same. It's a scary place. A scary place. Be a student of your child's culture. The third thing is this. Recognize friendship temptations. I've got a popular movie clip here that you guys might be familiar with about peer pressure, so let's watch that.
Saved your life! Oh, you guys made me eat! What's that?
I know what that is. Oh, Sandy Plankin saw one. He said it was called a butt.
Wow, that's a pretty big butt.
Oh, look at me! I'm gonna go touch the butt! Oh, yeah? Let's see you get closer.
Okay.
Oh yeah, let's see you get closer. You hear that? Peer pressure. I'm telling you, parents, if you let your kids fall into peer pressure, they're going to touch butts. That's what's going to happen. And so you cannot allow that to happen. No, in all seriousness, peer pressure is a very powerful thing. Okay, if your kid can be walking a straight line and he gets around enough people, she gets around enough people that are walking in the wrong direction, they're going to go with them. The other way, it can work as well. I tell people all the time. It's called peer encouragement or holy manipulation, whatever you want to call it. It's a great thing, okay? And if you get your kids around enough kids who are doing the right thing, they're going to go the right direction. They're going to accidentally go to teen camp, and it's going to be the best week of their life. It's a great thing. Peer pressure can be dangerous. We'll look out for the temptations in friendship. Another one is idolizing relationships. I see students do this all the time. Kids do this. The relationships they're in become the most important thing in their life. Why relationships are important, and God created us to be relational people, that can be dangerous. Anything that gets put above God is dangerous. Any people pleasers in the room? Anybody? You gotta please me because I'm raising my hand. You gotta raise your hand if you're a people pleaser right here, right? I'm terrified of making someone mad. And this is a friendship temptation. They will do something just so that they don't make their friends mad because they're people pleasers. And the idea of being liked is a very powerful thing in our culture. It's the reason your kids have Instagram, and it literally makes or breaks their day how many likes they get. As a 26-year-old guy, I have literally looked at my Instagram and said, man, why didn't anyone like that? And I thought, man, I'm a high school girl. So it's been a scary moment in my life. And I was like, I'm getting rid of Instagram, that's it. I'm never doing it again. There we go. Being liked can be a dangerous thing because you do crazy things for people to like you. Recognize friendship temptations. The next one is this, and this may be the most powerful. Have good friends. Caleb talked about if it's not in you, it's never going to be in them. If you mirror what good friendship looks like, they're going to want it, crave it, and go get it. Have good friends. Guys, let me talk to you for a minute. You can't do it alone. Guys get to this moment where we're working, we're doing everything for our families, and we kind of isolate ourselves from other people, especially from other guys, because I don't need that. I'm tough. It's a terrible idea. You can't do it alone. You have to bring friends around. There's a few friends around me that call me on my crap, and that's a lot. There's friends around me that I know that I can call, hey, man, I need prayer for this. I've had friends in my life who's like, hey, you do not need to go home and say those things. I don't care how mad you are, right? Have saved my marriage in a lot of places. My wife's looking at me like, what was it? What was it? Have good friends. Be intentional about those friendships. We strive really hard with our friends not to be like quarterly friends. Oh, we haven't hung out in so long. Let's hang out. Right? Now that does happen sometimes, but we want to have friends that are always around us and be calling and spending time with our friends. Be intentional about your friendships. And widen your own circle. And when you widen your own circle, it is a powerful thing for your kids as well. Because as important as friends are in your kids' life, it's not the only influence that you can have. It's not the only influence that's going to make a huge impact on your kids. The other influence that can is adults. So the first key relationship we want to talk about was friends. The second one is adults. Parents, here's what I know to be true. One day you're going to wake up and your kids are going to need more than you. Right now, my kids are pretty young, right? I'm all they need. This morning, they saw me in church, they ran up, they grabbed my legs, Daddy, it's great. But one day, they're going to walk the other way. They're going to need more than you. Some of these ideas are coming from this sermon is The Parenting Beyond Your Capacity. It's a great book by the Think Orange people. It was written by a guy named Reggie Joyner, and he tells a great story. Because one day, his son, 16-year-old son, comes home from a date, and he's really upset. And he says, "What's wrong, son?" And he goes, "Dad, I can't tell you." Then he had maybe the greatest second question ever. He says, "Who can you tell?" And because he had surrounded his kids with friends that he trusted, adults that he trusted, the kid said, "I can tell this person." And the dad was like, "Whew, that's good." They need more than you. Deuteronomy 6:4-7 has been the passage we've been working through Sticky Faith, and talks about a huge, impactful parenting passage. It is widely important scripture for parents, but I want to focus for a second on the first 3 words. The first 3 words are this: "Hear, O Israel." We assume because the nature of the passage that Moses was only talking to parents, but the truth is he was talking to parents and everybody else. Hear, O Israel. Israel was a culture of deep community. We have a hard time understanding because our culture is not that way. In the crowd, everyone heard the message and took it to heart. The parents, the grandparents, the aunts and uncles, the spouses, the siblings, everyone thought, okay, we're in this together. It takes a tribe mentality. That's what they're thinking. The Israelite household could actually have included as much as 80 different people. I am not saying that you need to go build a compound and invite all of your relatives to live with you, because I want to still live in Mound City and there not be a war. But what I am saying is that you need to build your own community around you, because there is undue pressure put on parents. That's where Thinking Orange is so valuable. As a parent of 2 and a youth pastor, I believe that one of the greatest values of the church is the potential to create community for kids. From birth to graduation, the potential for community for those kids. I loved it because we got to see parents and their young children. We got to give them resources, and we got to say, church, we're going to pray. We're going to commit to praying for these families and going around these families. And then when they come up here for graduation, it's so exciting to see when they're doing great things and they're loving the Lord and they're chasing after their faith. We get to see both sides of that. We have to be intentional about the influential adult relationships in our life, in our kids' life, The Fuller Institute found that teens who had at least one adult who was intentionally caring about them in their life were twice as likely to go to church after high school. That may not seem very important to you, but what you need to know to be true is that 18-year-olds, 18 to 26 or 27, are leaving the churches in droves. And I'm convinced, and maybe it's the millennial in me talking, it's not necessarily the kids, it's the parents. What can we do to produce sticky faith in their life? One intentional adult relationship, and they are twice as likely to stay in church. If I told you I could give you something to put on your car that was twice as likely not to get in a wreck on the way home, you'd be lining up. Twice as likely. To apply this point, I actually want to invite someone to the stage. Many of you guys know Stephen. Come on up, Stephen. He's not a people person, so we're going to reluctantly get him up here, but it's going to be great. I want to talk to him a little bit about what Widen the Circle, because he did a pretty cool thing with his kids that can apply our point a little more. So if you don't know Stephen, they've been here for 2.5 years?
A little over 2.
A little over 2 years. Yeah. He has 2 sons that are, one's married and one's in the military. No, the same guy's in the military.
Guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're both out of the house, we'll put it that way. Stephen and Wendy serve in our Sunday school classes. They teach the 5th and 6th grade. And Aaron was really happy with me last year because I got Stephen to come to the youth ministry and not the All-Stars. So it was a great, kind of stole him from a little bit. He's been intentionally pouring into kids' lives, but he's got a really cool thing he did before this book was written, and it was in the book. So It was about surrounding your son with caring adults when he was getting married. So talk to us a little bit about what happened.
So my oldest son, he's been married now for almost 3 years, and before he got married, I wanted to give him an opportunity to select men in his life that he would be able to ask marriage questions to. So he picked his list of men, and a friend of mine had a boat, and we went out and floated on a lake for about 4 hours, and he was able to ask basically any questions he wanted to about marriage life and leadership in a marriage, and you name it. We talked for about 4 hours. It was pretty good.
Okay, so how did he choose the 5 or 6 guys?
They were just guys from, things that he'd been doing all his life, from church to school to, Boy Scouts, Awanas, those kind of things.
And how well did you know the guys?
I knew them pretty well. They were all friends.
Yeah,
I would
so
say.
you were widening your circle, and he chose adults that you trusted.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to tell anyone they couldn't come on the boat ride.
Yeah, I didn't have to do.
Okay, so how impactful was it for your son afterwards?
Well, I actually called him last night to see if he had any input after about 3 years, and he said it was a good experience. He enjoyed it. The one thing he did say, he said, "Well, Dad, the only downside was that you were there." So I was like, "Oh man," but he did say he was glad I was there, but he said it was a little different having me there.
Okay, and so how about the adults? What was it like for them?
I got some amazing feedback from the guys that were there, and many of them said, I wish I would have had this when before I got married, to be able to ask any question, be able to be really blatantly honest about all sorts of stuff. So.
And I know some of the adults maybe weren't as successful in their marriages that got invited. So you might talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
He got both sides of the coin there, didn't he?
Yeah, he picked some really good men. One of them had a marriage that didn't work very well, so he remarried, but has a successful marriage now. And he talked about what it was like going through a divorce and some of his immaturity when he got married. The other guys one of them had married later in life, in his 30s. One married very young, right out of high school, and they all shared. So it was cool.
So I guess what's the secret to, how did you know when to do this? Did you wish you did it earlier? Was it too late, too soon?
He said, "Dad, I want to get married."
He said, "Dad, I want to get married." A huge point in their life, right?
Yeah. I don't know if I really had. I just knew that I wanted to give him an opportunity to ask questions, because marriage is a big step in life. So.
That's awesome. Thank you. He knew he wanted to give him an opportunity, is what he said. I think that's an awesome thing. Parents, some of you, I'm glad Stephen. This isn't going to work. Okay. I'm glad Stephen came up, because I just realized something. That even sometimes when the marbles run out and you have nothing left in the jar. Okay, stop. You have nothing left in the jar. The marbles are gone. Let me tell you this. If you have breath in your lungs, you have the capacity to influence your children. Whether they're 8, 18, 28, I don't care. You have the capacity to influence your children to have sticky faith. Even if you feel like you did a terrible job, today is the day to change. God is a God of grace and second chances. And when you pray to God about your kids, he answers. One of the cool things I tell the teenagers I disciple all the time, when we start talking about prayer, is I encourage them, if you want to hear a yes to prayers, pray for things that God told you he's going to say yes to. One of those is wisdom in the book of James. It says, if you ask the right way and you ask for wisdom, if you pray for that, I'm always going to give it to you. Pray for wisdom to how to deal with your kids outside of the house. You can still parent them. Widening the circle of adult influence in your life is absolutely crucial, because here's something else it does. When you widen the circle, you move your child from the me approach, all about me, to the we approach. In his book, Life Together, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, Dietrich Bonhoeffer is one of those guys that I think is really cool and doesn't get the note worthy he deserves, because he was a pastor, a German pastor in the reign of Hitler. If you've seen the movie Valkyrie, I've talked about this a little bit before, he was actually in the plot to assassinate Hitler, this German pastor. But he wrote this book called Life Together. It's a recommended read here. And what he was doing, he was running an underground seminary. Seminaries where pastors are being trained in Nazi-controlled Europe. Not a very safe place to do that, right? He actually got a job as a seminary professor in America, got here for a couple weeks and said, nope, I belong with my brothers, I'm going back. And started up this seminary in Nazi-controlled Europe. And he wrote this short little book about what it looks to live in community amongst themselves. And he said this, the more isolated a person is, the more destructive sin is over him. Sin wants to remain unknown. So when you widen the circle of adult influence in your kid's life, you give them an opportunity to move from me to we. And you give them an opportunity to do things like confess their sins, to seek counsel, to tell other people things that they're not willing to tell you. Because who in here, parents, have you ever said, your kids have come home and you're like, man, coach just gave me the greatest life advice of my life. And they tell you, like, I've been telling you that since you were 4. And now you just start brushing your teeth? What the heck, right? And they're like sharing advice, like, I've been telling you. But what happened is another voice heard what Stephen's was doing. Stephen's going to give all of that advice to his son. He has a successful marriage. He raised both of his boys well. But what he did is he brought in other men, other voices for them to hear. And when you're all on the same team, when you pick adults that are on your team and they're all saying the same thing, it's that peer encouragement that I talked about. They start moving in the right direction. I had a chance to do this week with my son. I invited 5 guys over to my house, and we had hamburgers and chips. My son loves hamburgers and chips, and we had a chance to pray over my son. He probably won't remember. He'll remember the ketchup that he dipped his chips in and ate. That was kind of nasty, but he's not going to remember that. Shauna asked me afterwards, so did you invite to hang out with your friends, or was it really for Asher? I was like, no, it was for Asher, because the cool part is they got to pray over Asher, and we got to pray for his salvation. Surround yourselves with adults that your kids can latch onto so that when they don't want to talk to you anymore, because that day's coming, then you can ask, who do you want to talk to? And if you've put strategically adults in your life, they're going to say, oh, I want to talk to them. I want to talk to him. I want to talk to her. I want to talk to that person. And that's because you widened your circle. The more isolated a person is, the more destructive sin is over him. Widening your child's circle is not only important because of what it gives your child, because of what it requires from your child. You hear that? Not just important because of what it gives your child, but what it requires from your child. God created us to be in community together. And we have the opportunity to serve with our kids. I love that. Joe talked about that last week, right? When we had the sticky power of purpose in our lives, and we go serve in Sunday school with our kids, and serve on the soccer field, and serve in the oil change, the car clinic for single moms, and we serve all of these different places. Our kids get to see us widening the circle and moving them from the me to the we. And all of a sudden, the purpose is what God designed. Because God did not design islands. Parents, you hear me? You need the church. You're not this little island that can exist by itself. God did not design us that way. He designed us to be in community with other believers. I love that because the church is the plan God had for redemption, right? God is using the church to preach the gospel. I have a love for the local church because of what God has designed it to do. Now, parents, we've looked at what widening our circle looks like. But I want to kind of take a look at what it looks for the church. I want to kind of do the application portion here for the church and for all of us. And I want to see how it applies because when we move outside our own families for a second and consider how to apply widening the circle to our church and how we can be a part of widening other people's circles, it's a powerful thing. But I want to kind of narrow the age of kids down a little bit, not because I don't care about young kids, but because it's just easier to talk about a smaller group of kids. And that we're going to talk about teenagers. You ever heard the term at-risk teens? Right? At-risk teens. If you're an administrator or a teacher, you've heard this a lot. If you just listen to the news, you've heard this a lot. And what's kind of crazy is we all have different ideas about at-risk teens, but defined, it says this. An at-risk teen is a student who is less likely to transition successfully into adulthood and become a positive member of society. Parents are like, man, I think my kid's an at-risk teen. I have no clue how they're going to be successful adults. They can't even pick their underwear off the floor and put it in the basket, right? But it's this idea that they can't transition to successful adulthood. Let me tell you this. We live in a small town, and sometimes we think we escape that. And in some ways we do. We escape that culture. But there are at-risk teens everywhere. There are at-risk kids everywhere. If you serve on Wednesday nights or Sunday mornings or any upward event, you understand there are kids at risk at that right there. The funny thing is, risk, as Christians, we understand risk to be a little deeper than just being a successful adult. Because what the real risk is that hell is real. And that the kids don't hear the gospel. They don't have the opportunity to receive that. And so What makes a teen at risk is the question I want to ask. And what I can tell you what doesn't make a teen at risk, and that is social economic status, income, the ethnicity of the family, where the family lives, how good the parents' jobs are. Those things do not make a teen at risk, right? Though that's kind of what we like to think. What makes a teen at risk is a lack of assets. A lack of assets. The Search Institute, which is a great company, located 40 developmental assets that help young people grow up healthy, caring, and responsible. There's a list. There's external and internal assets. Let's see if we can get it up here. The external assets are things such as family provides love and support, youth programs 3 or more hours a week. They are involved in a religious community. The young person feels safe at school. These are some of the external assets. Some of the internal ones. They care about and like school. Tells the truth when it's not even easy, has a sense of personal power, shows empathy and compassion. There are 40 of these, and I can get you the list. 40 of these assets. What's crazy that over half, 23 to be exact, are relational. Remember I told you that widening the circle is all about relationship? 23 of the 40 assets that you can give a teenager or give a kid are relational. And so they surveyed 189,000 teens. The average number of assets the teens had was 18. 18 out of 40. So I just want to show you a couple of graphs here that'll help bring the point home. The first one would be alcohol. We could look at that slide. Youth who have used alcohol 3 or more times in the past 30 days or have been drunk once or more in the last 2 weeks. Look at the percentages here. If they have 0 to 10 assets, they are 44% more likely to do it. Then look at the bottom, 31 to 40, 2%. Where do you want your kid? That's alcohol. Let's look at the next one. Violence. Youth who have engaged in fighting, hitting, injuring a person, carrying or using a weapon, or threatening physical harm 3 or more times in the last year. Look at the numbers. Look how far they drop. The average is 18, so most of the kids are in that 34 percentile. Let's look at the next one. Sex. Youth who have had intercourse 3 or more times in their lifetime. This is youth. The lifetime's not very long, right? I talked to a 14-year-old 2 weeks ago who got caught. 14 years old. Look at the assets. 31 to 40, 3%. 3%. Another one, trouble. Youth who have been involved in 3 or more incidents of shoplifting, trouble with police, or vandalism in the last year. I mean, the numbers are speaking for themselves there. 189,000 teenagers were surveyed here. Suicide, one that has hit pretty close to home this past year. Youth who say they have frequently depressed and or have attempted suicide. Just drink those numbers in a little bit here, guys. Assets. It's all about the assets. They're not all negative. Some are positive. Health. Youth who have reported that they pay attention to nutrition and exercise. If you have above 30 assets, you're 91% that are reporting that they care about their nutrition and exercise. Leadership. Youth who have reported they have been a leader in a group or organization in the past year. Look at those numbers. Diversity. Youth who have reported they place a high value in getting to know people of other racial and ethnic groups. The average is 20%. That's the average because the average is 18. School. Youth who report getting A's on their report cards. So the big question here is, if what makes an at-risk teen is a lack of assets, who gives the assets? Who gives them? Adults. Caring adults. And I'm a little biased here, but I think you can find more caring adults in a church than probably anywhere else. Someone said to me this year, Jake, you care more about the youth group than anyone in this town. Okay? I don't want to accept that to be true, though. I think there are other adults in our area that care just as much about kids as I do. I know because I see them serving. I see teachers. I see adults volunteering their time, giving back to kids. We have a unique opportunity to take interest in the students and kids in our community. What kids need is one caring adult to take extreme ownership and clean up a mess that is not their fault and not their responsibility. That's what kids need. Parents, we have to move outside of our own families. I tell people all the time, we got asked this week, you guys have any more kids? I was like, I don't think so. I've got 2 plus 60. in the youth group, because I don't think I can mentally have any more kids, right? Because I have this, ask Sean, I'll come home from Wednesday night and I'll be like, she's like, what's wrong? It was a great night. I was like, I don't know, this one kid didn't get it. This one small group didn't go as well as planned, and they had this opportunity. Extreme ownership of a problem they didn't create, of a mess they don't have to clean up and have no responsibility for. Instead of saying, you know what, not my kid. Saying, you know what, they need to be, come on in. What would that look like if each of us took one kid? Because all it needs is one caring adult. And you know what? Frankly, it's the church's job. It's your job. It's my job. Sunday mornings, Wednesday nights, Saturday mornings on the soccer field during Upward. Any chance you have, it's our job. There is no reason in the world we should have a want of Sunday school teachers. We should have people lined up out the door to influence a kid. And then every week we're like, man, who's going to teach this class? Every week there's a class. And we have an opportunity. One caring adult caring about something that's not their problem, taking extreme ownership of the situation. Parents, it's time to move outside of your family. Church, it's time to move into the into the families. It's time to be thinking orange. It's time to widen the circle in such a way that we start influencing the kids around us for Jesus. Because the companies that I start talking about are kind of secular companies who just care about kids and their well-beings. The church should care about the spiritual well-being of these kids. There's sometimes that we talk about in the office, the only chance that kid has is the church. The only chance. That's why on Wednesday nights, I get as many adults in the room as possible. That's why you've probably been asked, hey, you want to come out, hang out with us with a bunch of teenagers? 8th graders aren't that bad. And then I lock you in a room and you get to experience it all. It's great. So the challenge to you is widen your circle. As a family, go seek out friends for your kids and adults for your kids. Parents, this doesn't mean make friends for your kids. They need to kind of have their own thing, okay? We could talk about that a whole lesson there. Go seek out adults that can be influential in your kids' life. And church, for us, take extreme ownership. Let's pray. Father God, we come to you thankful for who you are. Thankful, God, that you widened your circle and brought us in. Without it, Father, we are lost and we are dead. Father, I pray for the courage to reach outside of ourselves, the courage for parents to seek out other adults because they realize they can't do it, and the courage for the church members to stand up and say, my turn. I'm taking extreme ownership of that kid. Father, thank you for this day. God, we just thank you as we remember the veterans and what they've given for our country, for the sacrifice for the families as well. And it's your name we pray. Amen.